What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Lore Reloaded. Glad to have you guys here for yet another streaming day where I'm about an hour late and probably won't do like the 4 to 6 hours that I plan on doing when it comes to this entire shindig. Hey, don't forget to check me out at twitter.com/Lore Reloaded. If you got Twitter, definitely follow me on there. I'd love to get my numbers up on that. I guess probably should stop being myself there, though, and maybe just be a shill for Trek if I want that to happen. But that's not going to. So still follow me at twitter.com/Lore Reloaded. And you can't unfollow me after that. So you got to follow me and then not, even if you disagree and you hate who I am as a person. That's just the way, hey, I don't make these rules. Check me out at twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded as well, where I play all kinds of games that you guys will love. And don't forget to check out patreon.com/Lore Reloaded or become a member. There's a lot of cool things happening, especially for YouTube members, though Patreons will get it as well. I'm doing a push for my memberships. I hope everybody is doing good today. Al Waifu is still working on his petition. We got Vile Mike in the house, of course, Stevie G, and Thorny DeGate, who said hit that like button. And you should. You should. I know you're scared of the like button, but trust me, it's more scared of you than you are of it. And MB Deter, I knew that you would be here. I knew that you wanted to see me live. And so that's why I came on when I did. What's going on, R. McDud? So, a couple of things. We're going to talk, honestly, a part of doing this live and trying to figure out what's going on is that I have to really come to grips with how I'm going to dance for you for about 6 hours. That's what this entire thing comes down to. And I want to know what you guys want to talk about and how you, what interests you and what starts a conversation. So I'm still trying to fill that out. For the moment, I thought we might talk about something that's kind of intriguing for me, but I don't know how you guys would really feel about it. So one of the pieces when it comes to Trek that I think you guys know is that I'm old, unfortunately, and I'm more a nostalgia Trek fan. I think there is a way to write Star Trek. There is a way to do movies and film, and there's a spirit to Star Trek that can be ignored or can be betrayed. And if you do it, I don't feel like you're really doing Star Trek justice. And honestly, if I didn't have this job where I'm forced to be a more neutral party of it, I might even say I don't feel like it's Star Trek. Star Trek. One of those, and before we get into it, what did Ketwalski think of the Oberth? I don't think he knows yet. We haven't talked to him yet. For those who don't know, I do a live role-playing game where I have Ketwalski, Jesse Gender, as well as Lore Runner on. All three of us were really tired. All three of us have jobs, and I actually rely on my channel to feed my kids. And Ketwalski, because he was so tired, was the only one who can't make it. So definitely comment about that on his channel the next time he uploads. Jeff Franklin, what's going on? Going back to what we were talking about, it would seem that our good friend Quentin Tarantino is probably not going to be doing the Star Trek channel or the Star Trek movie. Sorry, that was actually business related for something we're doing in the future. Will not be doing the Star Trek movie, and I'm of two minds when it comes to that. I have to be completely honest. What's going on, Rock Solid Productions? I don't know how I was going to feel about a rated R Star Trek film. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that it fits in line with the spirit of what Star Trek is. Season 1 Discovery, really Season 2 Discovery, I know a lot of people try to say it, but really Season 2 Discovery, a rated R Star Trek film, it's definitely the Discovery era. It's a change on what Trek is. I think that you can have darker themes when it comes to Star Trek and analyze those. I think Iron Stephen Bear did it really well with Deep Space Nine. I do think he got as far as you can push and not go over the line, in my opinion. But I think those stories can be done. However, when it comes to what they're trying to do now, it really just jumps past it. You know, it just goes over that line. There are anime Trek. They're not official, but anime Trek. Bird of Prey 5 helping out the channel, as you guys know. In order to be able to do these live where I have these discussions and I come on and do this for as long as I can for entire days, I have to be able to justify it financially. And one of the ways is you guys watching, as well as donations from the lovely people like Bird of Prey 5. Check out his channel. He has a really interesting perspective. Him and Anti-Tracker do a lot together too. So if you like that kind of stuff, definitely check him out. Thanks so much for the donation. Disappointed Tarantino couldn't do worse. Disappointed Tarantino couldn't do worse. I think an R-rated would take Discovery to the next level. But that's really the fade there, isn't it? General Eric's here. We can all get started. But that's really the slow fade there, isn't it? And we started seeing this slow fade with DS9, to be fair. But basically, you had the original series in TNG, which kept it very lighthearted. There were points of greatness that were darker, but for generally they kept it very lighthearted. You got Deep Space Nine, which wasn't your grandpa's Trek, and so you had a lot of darker themes. Voyager walked above that a little bit. They raised the bar from as low, but they went down that far before. And then you have the J.J. Abrams, which is a complete rematch. It's more action. There are darker themes, but it's skirting the edge. I mean, if it is worse than Deep Space Nine, it's barely worse. And then Discovery just says, you know what, screw all of this. Let's make Star Trek Expanse, and that's where they go with it. And it's like at a 15 on everything when it comes to what Trek isn't to me. It's 15 on darker themes and subjects. It's a 15 on not caring about continuity. It's a 15 on just more dystopia than you can get. And then we get to the Tarantino, who wants to make an R-rated movie. What can you do? I mean, what can you do in R-rated movies? So we could have a film that could possibly have all kinds of various aspects to it. So R, restricted, children under 17 requiring an adult. This rating means the film contains adult material such as adult activity, harsh language, intense graphic violence, drug abuse, and nudity. Most theaters have their own policies regarding R-rated movies. Yeah, so ultimately it is intense graphic violence is not something that I really associate with Star Trek generally. Drug abuse and nudity, very light. Harsh language, that's neither here nor there. Adult activity, I'm not completely sure what they mean by that. Probably sex, which again is more the teenage or preteen version of sex. It takes it to just an unrealistic theme. So that again is as far away from what I consider the spirit of Trek that you can get. And so and if they still do it, there's still a chance they'll do it, but they may not. I really was trying to be optimistic when it comes to that, and I was keeping an open mind because maybe they can do it right. Right? It is technically a new way of doing things. They've always tried to push the envelope, though there's so far that you can go. I don't know. I don't think it's obviously not nostalgia Trek, but there's a difference between it obviously not being nostalgia Trek and then just saying, you know what, screw everything you ever grew up with. I think there's drastic differences in that. Jeff Franklin, no mention of Enterprise. Enterprise, honestly, didn't do anything, in my opinion, on that. It was very, very light. There wasn't any advances or even step backs when I think to Enterprise when it comes to how they dealt with themes or actual portrayals, I guess, of how Starfleet worked. It also wasn't Starfleet. It was the United Earth. It really, Enterprise was just there, you know. I don't know. Perhaps to show how stupid it is to have families on a frontline war, have Sisko's son, Jake, killed in a stupid way because you don't keep civvies in the front line. I got no idea what the hell you guys like to talk about while I'm going off. Sorry for the da-da. See, you guys are talking about everything else. Rated R would just be Klingons dropping the F-bomb. That's all it would be. Yeah, it would. I don't know. I'd love your guys' thoughts on it. I don't really think that it is Trek. I think that it would move it too far away. Again, if they do it, I'll keep an open mind. But a rated R film really is just, it feels like to me, it would be Star Trek Discovery now that they can have blood and sex and gore and yada, yada, yada. And that's, what's the point in that? Why are we doing this? Usually when you create a film, when you create something, you want to tell a story or to change things or to make a statement. At least that's what people claim they want to do. So what's the rub here? Just wanting to say the F word, just wanting to be edgy doesn't do anything. I mean, I guess you could say it's being crass, or it's trying to add I wouldn't even say it's trying to add a dynamic. You're just saying it to say it. And I don't see the point of that. That said, I do think that I could be wrong, that there are chances to take it to the next level. As an example, there's a DC Plus episode series I recently found that was about Harley Quinn. And the characters have tons of adult themes. They're allowed to curse. There are all kinds of edgy stuff in that, and I think that that's done really well. And if you had told me, hey, we wanted to do an R-rated Suicide, or not Suicide Squad, but an R-rated villain series, cartoon series based on Harley Quinn, I probably would not have thought that was the best thing either. You know? Again, what are your guys' thoughts on this? War Game 2099, who would win, Sangeli versus Jim Hadar in the Star Trek versus Halo? Probably Jim Hadar, who have better technologies with transporters as well as the ability to hit from like God's green earth, I would say. Cedric Taylor 08, pushing dim limits, but helping out the channel. TNA and cussing him a doctor, not a effing magician. Cussing him, he's a doctor, not a effing magician. I see what you did there. That's clever. And the F word has more meanings than any other word in the world. I would agree with that. The F word is not a swear. Swear is not spelled that way word. It's an English law. Okay, Dave, you said that a couple times, so that has been said out. I know how to make people cry. Pineapple salad. I don't know what to do with you people. I don't even know what to do with my own audience. Just toxic. Rock Solid Productions. I think they could do a really interesting rated R Mirror Universe movie that would be unique and different. You know, and there's an interesting thing. I might be open to a Mirror Universe being rated R, but then again, it's still not with the spirit of Trek. I know the Mirror Universe is the opposite of everything we see, but there's at least in Nostalgia Trek, before JJ movies, before the JJ verse, there's a spirit, a style, a way of telling a story with an open thought to it. You know? That loses, I think. I'm on the fence. Oh, so this was what I was going to read. This is the Quentin Tarantino thing. I'm not actually going to read it now, but that's where it's talking about Quentin Tarantino is probably not doing the R-rated movie, because he wants to focus on something else. I don't know. I just... Suffer means consent. Nice means foolish and ignorant. What the hell is wrong with you people? I don't understand. Just noticed your shirt. We need to get you a retro gaming, my friend. Oh, yeah, this is an actual shirt that's made to look like a sweater. And for R-rated in general, what would be more interesting than a utopian society facing the cruel reality of war and have to deal with it? Yeah, but that's my thing. And I guess I discussed this before, and maybe you weren't there when I did. DS9, I think, kept the spirit of Trek and it pushed it as far as it could go without actually moving over that edge. Arguably, In a Pale Moonlight did. I don't think that you could move it any further, make it R-rated, and keep the spirit. But that may be with nostalgia goggles. Again, and this is another thing for those who are 30 somethings. When you look at the cartoons today, with some exceptions, there are just idiotic cartoons, things that I don't think are worth anything. But the current generation likes them, and I'm sure when they get to their 30-something, they're going to look at it and do the same thing. So maybe it's just the sign of the times, and this is the new Trek. This is the way it has to be. I don't know that I want Trek to continue if it has to change into something that's not, because why not just make Expanse and just do it with Expanse and make Expanse as big as Trek? And just write a better story with characters you can do that with. You don't have to fundamentally change everything. I need to get someone on. At some point, I think I'm going to invite someone who disagrees with me on that. The Super Famicom controllers up top are nice, but then again, I may just like looking at an Ewok's chest. That's fantastic, rock solid. Kirk is a word for the first churches in Scotland. What is wrong, Dave? I don't get you guys. I don't understand you. R rating could mean more than bloodshed. R rating could just mean more bloodshed. But why? Why would you do that? Let's say that that's all it is. It means more bloodshed. That's all Quentin Tarantino wanted to do. First off, that's not Quentin Tarantino. That's not his movies. But let's assume that it is. Why? It doesn't add anything. The point... Truly... Let me say it this way so that people don't try to give me their own personal opinions. When you look at Joseph Petrick, thank you so much for helping out the channel, guys. It's the only way I can keep this going. If you get cut, you bleed. I miss it in the movies. Generally, the best well-received movies, the ones that can be game changers, outside of multi-million-dollar corporations like Disney that do some stupid stuff, will fundamentally change or show you a new aspect of something. And you can really tell when those movies come out and when people like them versus what like Disney does when it manufactures all of the love and joy for it. Because there's an earnest to it. Adding just more blood doesn't do that. Oh, look, everybody can bleed. What are you trying to tell me? What different aspect? Where are we going with that? Why do I care? I've never seen it before. I see it now. Are you just showing it there just to show it? Why does that matter to me? By the way, no F-rated Star Trek. I just noticed that. God, I'm stupid. I believe I do this for a living. Just make new blood and gore and gun sci-fi franchise. And that's what I was saying, Miss Love. Just take Expanse and take it to the next level, right? Why? Well, you don't need to do it with Star Trek. And to Mr. Pete pointing out, you just keep that money going. I think Lucas, I forget his exact words, but what he said was best was where nostalgia is now bankable. Nostalgia is now something that is you use to gain money. But that trick is getting old quick, in my opinion. I think that when you look at the numbers, even when you look at Disney numbers, when you look at Star Wars, when you look at Star Trek, you only got so much in that bank before nostalgia, before people stop believing you. Star Trek is not cool. Stop trying to make it. It is very cool, Tiki. You're cool, sir. You're cool. R-rated could be more stepping the line in regards to the harder social aspects of Starfleet. But to be honest, they could show a story against Starfleet, maybe Klingon pirates. I don't think Klingon pirates would ever at any point do anything for that. I'll be honest with you. I don't think... a lot of people were like, well, let's do a show with Klingons. Let's do a show with Romulans. Let's do a show with whatever alien you really like. audiences aren't gonna be able to connect with that. I don't think you could do a show. I don't think you could do a show that would be able to. Audiences have to be able to connect with those that they're watching, and it's very rare where there are exceptions to that. By the way, there are people palming me on this, but yeah, there's 70 people watching, only 26 likes. Hey, don't be scared of that like. That like is more scared of you than you are of it. Hit that like. Let's see if we can get half. Let's get 32. 32. Let's see if we can get 32. I think that a military action drama on Beta Z during the war can be good, like the Siege of AR 558. How much blood was in that? R rating is not needed, but could be interesting. See, I agree too, Nathan. I would love, and that's my point, I would love a DS9 styled action movie where you see one of the events that occur. I think that could have been really very intriguing, right? Where you see maybe the Battle of Beta Z. Maybe there's a resistance on Beta Z. How interesting would that be? One of the things I wanted to do. So I am coming up with an idea that will hopefully be out shortly. That is based on the Dominion War. But what I would love is maybe to see a lower decks type deal, where you see ensigns and lieutenant junior grades, or ensigns and lieutenants, trying to deal with battling the Dominion. What does it look like when you're not Cisco and you're facing down Dominion ships? So, Mr. Love did his part, did you? A show based on the Orion Syndicate would be cool, like a Mandalorian show for Trek. Maybe. You'd have to tie it in. I keep reaching for this because I'm thirsty. You would have to tie it in somehow and make it relatable. The Orion Syndicate is actually not a horrible idea, because the Orion Syndicate isn't just Orions. They have all kinds of different species, so you in theory could actually have a human there if you wanted to. And I do think that in order to really pull people in and make them relate, it almost always has to be done with a human. You can do it without it, but almost always in order to write a good story, because again, in order for a story to be well received, audiences have to relate to it. Good morning, Track 95. Hope you're doing well. Even the Borg only get a PG rating, and they have body horror written all over. Yeah, you don't need R rating to write a good horror movie. You don't need an R rating to write a good action movie. It's a lot easier, but you don't actually need it. What's up, T. Gilly? Must stay hydrated, Lord. Yeah, I'm not saying hydrated with coffee, though. Green plant people. We'll probably be moving off this topic fairly shortly. But I do think that a rated R movie, while I'll keep an open mind if it comes out, and I'll want it to be good. All I want is good track. I don't think it would be the spirit, or would really be necessarily written for me. It'd be written for people who really more associate with the Discovery era than they do the or JJ era than they do what Trek was or was meant to be. And it goes back to another question, which is, can something be moved so far away from what the original creator wanted that it simply is disrespectful? I do think that Roddenberry would hate what Trek has become, but I don't think he actually wrote good Trek. It's ironic to me. I don't like a lot of Gene Roddenberry's writing, and a lot of stuff he took credit for wasn't actually because of him. So I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. Remember Psycho? Everything was implied, but your imagination worked into it a higher rating. Well, and another thing, like Psycho's a good point. You don't want to know a really good movie that did exceptionally well until the end? Langoliers. Langoliers was a terrifying movie until you actually saw them. If you never saw the Langoliers, it would be so much better. And again, you can do that. Did you hear Picard's showrunner is gone from? We'll be talking about that, Darth Revan. A lot of people are making of that more than it is. I don't think there's anything. necessarily negative about that. I don't think it's as oh god, the world's ending or anything as channels are making it out to be. I really think that's more transactional, and I think he just either got paid a lot more money. We'll be talking about it. I actually have a video that I was looking at doing, you know. I think Roddenberry would have hated DS9 and Dominion War. I do too, Rock Solid. But as I said, I think there's a difference between Deep Space Nine and Discovery Mirror Universe. You know? You feel me, buddy? You feel me? I heard that Star Trek still has 2 movies planned, but they're not Tarantino's. I don't know about 2 movies. They have 1 movie planned for sure that I'm aware of. I don't know about another one. Tarantino is supposedly not happening. Making an R-rating movie, they could be making characters with flaws, but you don't need an R rating to make characters flaw. You can do any flaw in an R-rating movie that you can't do in a PG. Is honestly, I don't think there's any flaw you can give someone in an R-rating movie that you couldn't give in a PG-rated one. I don't see a reason to do that. The Dominion War is the most suited for an R-rated movie, regular Trek. Now, I don't even think the Dominion War is. I think the Dominion War was done as well as it could be done. But it comes back to the spirit. I think it is... I think some stories and some genres are just better suited for the standards that we've been given, which is a racket in and of itself. Don't even get me into the movie guides. That's a racket. But the Expanse would never do well as a PG with a PG rating or a PG-13 rating. And I just don't think Trek would do well with an R rating. Laura, you should shape your beard like King Leonidas. I'll do that, Tiki. I'll do that. Thank you for that feedback. I appreciate that, buddy. I think if you do a Lower Decks episode, it should be like Red Squad, where a lower officer has to take command. Yeah, it'd be interesting like that. Well, I tell you, so there's a project coming up, and this one's actually happening, where it's probably going to be first-person point of view, and it's going to be a movie where I'm going to try to do it where you can make the decisions on YouTube. But I'm trying to get everything together, trying to get the financing and everything for that, because it takes a little bit of money to do stuff like that. We'll see. It's definitely coming out. How I do it, I guess, is going to be the real question. I actually like the Kelvin timeline. I'm happy they're sticking with another movie. Well, good. I don't hate the Kelvin timeline. I don't know that it's my favorite. I actually enjoy the Kelvin movies, but that's because I feel like the Kelvin timeline and the Kelvin movies were actually, honest, which is always a nice, a great relief. I think that the Kelvin movies were just honest, and I can appreciate something if they're like, hey, I can appreciate it if it's just honest about what it's doing, if it's changing everything. And that's one of the reasons I was trying to be open, and I was actually open to Quentin Tarantino. He was saying, hey, this is an R-rated movie. This isn't going to be what you thought before. And I can respect that. And it's possible because of that, I might have been fine with it. I don't know. The conversations in the dealer's room at Star Trek Convention are the conversations that took place at Havens and IRC. Your conversations make me smile. Well, I'm glad, Daniel. I'm here for you. Sulu should have had him. Nah, I've never been a huge fan of Sulu. I mean, Sulu, the character's fine, but I don't think he needs to have his own movie. Why would you want that? PG-13 has limited blood and is rather tame on the cursing and language. R thinks Berserk as just a movie. Yeah, PG-13, I think you get 2 F-bombs or something. I just don't think F-bombs are really appropriate. Would agree in Gene's point of view to DS9 and Discovery, but to be fair, TOS was a mirror of its time. Why not develop it further to a new perspective? Yeah, but so let me ask you this. You can say that. You can say that the series are reflective of their times. I don't necessarily disagree with that either. I think TNG did so well because it was at a time when, we talk about the Starfleet golden age where they think that they're the top of the top and things like that. I'm not saying in real life it was a golden age, but it seemed like a lot of people thought that it was, or a lot of people thought things were great. And so I can see that reflective. Deep Space Nine, we start having more and more strife, or at least it feels like we are. So Deep Space Nine is a little bit darker. Voyager was basically the insane ramblings of a mad person, so I don't know where they got that from. Enterprise was milk toast, but now are you telling me that all people want is basically the expanse? I don't believe that. And I don't believe Star Trek has to be that. Orville's not that. Orville has dark themes too, but it's not that. The Marvel movies. Look at the Marvel movies. They do dark themes, but they still keep it pretty light too. They're wonderful at it. So yeah, is Star Trek reflective of the culture who's watching it? Yes, but you're telling me that the culture of Star Trek now, that Trekkies are all about this, are implied sexual assault of a male. That's the culture of Trekkies? They watch implied sexual assault of a male? Really? Maybe. I'm not saying that it is. I'm not saying that. I'm not even saying I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that's my question. TNG and DS9 are peak Trek. I actually agree with that, ironically, though DS9 is wrong from the original. For God's sake, not George Takei. I'm not a huge fan of things he has to say, but I like Sulu. Downtown Abbey, that's what it should be. Should it be Downtown Abbey? That's Star Trek Downtown Abbey. They should do that. Yeah, I'd almost watch a fan fiction of that. Star Trek Downtown Abbey. When did that happen? That would be season 1 of was it season 1? Yeah, Tyler. When Tyler's introduced, and I think that's season 1. Yeah, season 1. It has to be season 1 actually. Yeah, season 1 of Discovery. Star Trek lost me at Star Trek Discovery. Okay. TNG is dorky as F, yo. Baby, it's cold outside. You really must go. Something like that. I don't know how it goes. The Expanse is the pessimist's view of the future. You know, what's interesting, ironically, what's interesting is... I did have a good birthday, Darth Revan. Thank you for asking. Got to hang out with one of my most favorite people in the world on my birthday. That was really fun for me. Even though she may not be a fan of me right now. The hell was I saying? Why do you guys get me off topic? I don't even know what I was talking about. The Expanse. You know, I think, you say The Expanse is for pessimists. My honest to God opinion on all this, I think Expanse is probably where we're headed as a species. I just do. I think that's I think that's pragmatic and logical. I think our best chance, the peak of humanity it's ever going to get is Babylon 5. And then the unrealistic utopia is Star Trek, even Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I think those are the way it is. It is Tyler. There was implied sexual assault with Tyler. Yes, there was. Absolutely. If you don't believe that, then you can go and rewatch it. There was implied sexual assault upon him for well over, I think it was the entire season. I think it was until season 2 that we find out that it wasn't actually, but they implied it. They implied it all day, every day. What do you think of the Avalon universe compared to Star Trek Continues? I like Star Trek Continues. I wish people weren't doing prequels all the darn time. The Avalon universe that you speak of, let me do this real quick. Let me make sure it's the one I'm thinking of. Hold on. Whoa. I like Avalon. Yeah, Avalon's pretty cool. When it comes to fan films, I actually like quite a bit. I was thinking about doing one of the fan films today. I can let a lot go. I don't get upset about quality as much when it's a fan film. Tyler's Ash. Oh, yeah. Who's Tyler? Yeah, it's the same person, isn't it? Star Trek Tyler? Yeah, Ash Tyler. That's his name. Do I know Captain Calhoun from the books? I don't think so. Everything, the world would be better if we all had giant stompy. I agree. I think Mech Warrior is probably the best case for us. We just need to get that done. Romulus was an Italian general who won against Remus, so then the city got named Rome. Okay. Take Drumhead, Home Front, and Paradise Lost further. Deal with Rom's Discover the Pale Moon backstory, etc., dark themes, and mass. I'm not saying you can't do dark themes. You know, I'm not saying you can't do dark themes. We see dark themes all the time. And I'm not saying you can't expand on dark themes. I'm saying you don't have to go Star Trek Discovery Mirror Universe to do it. Yes, I'm aware who Tyler was, Max. I'm aware. So, Max, I feel like you and me may be having a miscommunication. So, before we continue this, implied, adjective, suggested but not directly expressed, implicit. So, for instance, if I was to say that there was implied sexual assault, then what I might be saying is that it was suggested but not directly expressed that there was sexual assault. In the end, sexual assault probably didn't occur because of the way it's said, though it's still a little confusing. But it was implied, that is to say, that it was suggested but not directly expressed, to the point of the guy having post-traumatic stress syndrome, that he was assaulted against his consent. Regardless of what the actual truth is, what he believed was something different. I hope that I have clarified my position on this. There is literally no way, unless you're trolling me or you have the IQ of a kumquat, to not watch season 1 and say, yeah, there was no implied sexual assault. So either you are trolling me or you have the intelligence that God didn't give a milk cow to not see that. Hope I was clear. Here's an interesting concept. Put Tarantino in a room with Frakes, Meyer, and Shatner. See if any of them come up with a cross between the Prime Timeline Wars and Kelvin Timeline War. I'm not a huge fan of Shatner's writing. Frakes, Meyer, and Tarantino I think would be interesting. He's a good actor. I just don't like his writing. All right, Max, you're trolling me. There's no way. R. McDudd, I am glad that I could give you the definition of implied. I'm sorry, guys. It just makes me irritated. I can't stand it. You can actually get me this mad when we talk about, what the hell is that, Enterprise? Trip pregnant. You can actually get me is it unexpected? Yeah, unexpected. You can actually get me pretty triggered on that too. I don't like I don't like when anyone is taken advantage of, and it really angers me when people can't see it because it's happening to a male. So I mean, it's just that it's really easy to do it. It's really good. It's a weakness. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you right there. Kelvin Timeline, just say no. Milk cows are smart. They are the smartest of the cows. Of all milk cows, those are the smartest. The bestest, in fact. Anyway. Shatner is overrated in all aspects. I don't think so. We're the 5 lights implied. I hate all of you guys. I hate every one of you. They were not implied. In fact, they were explicit. There needs to be standards. Someone can make an accusation by walking by someone. I agree that there does need to be standards. No R-rated Star Trek? Why? We will make it happen like we supported the Orville. Ilya, I don't know. I don't know that it needs to happen. I think we've had that discussion, and we'll be moving on in just a second. But just to bring it back from me getting triggered, I I wonder if it really needs to be happened. So what do you guys think? Does it actually need to go through? You guys are doing good. I have to I have to be honest with you. You're doing good. You're getting me. Milkcom, but we love you. At least you're not a hobbit. I don't even know what that means. Solo did lose money. You know what's interesting though? I'll say this about Solo. So just look at Solo. Solo wasn't the worst ever. I think Solo lost money because people were disappointed in the movie before it, and that happened to Trek. Uh, Trek would make a really good movie and then not, and then a really good movie and then not, and that's the way they work. If you make really good movies, then you get a lot of money. If you don't, then you don't. Orville is all about that, yeah. Orville is all about implied sexuality, effective. Orville had one episode that was really bad that I hate when it comes to sexuality. Beyond that, I think it was. Dave says I'm precious. Well, thank you, Dave. I think you're precious too. I really, I'm glad you and I could connect on that level. People who actually like The Last Jedi need to be what? I mean, if you like it, it goes back to what I've always said. I have my own opinions about things. I have my own breakdowns when it comes to how I feel. But if you like something, uh, that doesn't make it badness. Just because I don't like something doesn't mean you can't really enjoy it. Like, for instance, again, I really don't like Star Trek Discovery because of some of the themes when it comes to that. I hate what they did with Ash. I hate the implied sexual assault. I don't like it. It makes me so much more frustrated when people try to ignore or make it light. But if someone was to watch Star Trek Discovery and say, you know what? I think that added a dynamic that made it really interesting. That is darker, but you get to see it from from a Star Trek light, and that did X for me. Then that's great. It's whatever. If that's what you get out of it, then I'm happy that you can get something from it. I don't like it. I think it makes it so far from not being Trek. But if you did it, then that's what it is. Nathan Norman, Cisco killed more people in DS9 than Khan because of the pale moonlight. Think about it. How many people crew in a Warbird and how many of them were lost in each battle? Low million, maybe. I don't know. Based on just the Warbirds, I wouldn't say it's low millions. I think it's quite possible that hundreds of thousands, if not millions, did die because of what Cisco did. It goes back to that spirit, though, that we were kind of it goes back to that spirit we were discussing from. For me, it feels like they did it in a way that, yes, it's dark. Yes, there are implications. Yes, there are things we're breaking down. In fact, In a Pale Moonlight is the next Dominion War video I'm uploading. And that one's going to be multi-part because there's just a lot to bring to it. But it was done in a way where you didn't have to make it R. You put it out there. You discuss it and you expand on it, but they didn't have to show it. I just take it as a dark comedy. That one episode in Orville, it doesn't get under my skin. I don't like. I'm sorry, I can't like episodes where effectively people are being drugged and then they are having sex without basically their consent because they're drugged, and it ruins marriages. I don't like that type of quote unquote dark comedy. If you like that or it doesn't bother you, then that's you do you. But I do not like it. And to be fair, if you don't see it that way, then that's fine. I strongly disagree. But if you don't see it that way, then that's okay. They are not bridged by... By the way, Miss Love, when I get back to Robotech, which is coming back very shortly, I already got the thing. I got... So for those who haven't watched Robotech, just to get off on tangent for a second, there are... The bridge only has females except for the captain, for whatever reason. And Everyone calls them bridge bunnies, and because that's a constant joke, I actually have had a jingle made, and it says bridge bunnies. It's funny. You guys are gonna love it. BBs are cute and fun. Okay. A Star Trek story where fans are visited by the spirit of Trek past, the spirit of Trek present, and the spirit of Trek future. Val, Mike, we got to do that. That would be hilarious. That has to happen. That does have to happen. I agree. Max, I've stopped listening to you. I got you. I got your number. All right. So, on that topic, to be honest, the Tyler Vogt torture, assault, PTSD while being a mole story was completely screwed up and wasn't worked out somehow. That was why it makes it so bad, in my opinion, but it could work as a theme. I just don't think that's a good theme. I think that the sexual assault piece was unnecessary and should have been removed. There's no reason to have it. I just don't think. You know, I don't think that you need to have that there. Where was it? There it is. Tyler didn't remember he was Volk. He said she had taken him over and over again and that the implied rape he felt didn't give consent at the time and developed PTSD. Yes, Nathan, that would be my problem with it. That is exactly what I'm talking about. That's why I said it's implied, because it wasn't in the end. I mean, arguable, but I'll just give it to you. In the end, let's just assume that it wasn't. It was implied throughout. And it just wasn't cool. Not as cool and as lovely as Cindercat, who is just awesome and is the greatest person on the face. Well, third greatest person on the face of the earth, according to me. Confusing memories, which I will have knowing you can't follow the plot. Yep. R rating is interesting, but it's the director and writer that would be the best part. Yeah, I mean, again. Sexual assault of a male happened in Enterprise. Wasn't right then. It's not right. I agree. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to dinner. Stay awesome. Talk to you later, Darth Revan. Thanks for coming by. So let's talk about Discovery's adult themes. Let's do that, since that's what you guys want to talk about. And what's funny is, let me tell you guys something, and I don't know if he's still watching or not, but I reached out to a guy who did the No Budget Productions, and he does a lot of fan films that I thought were interesting, that I liked, that we were going to do like a viewing thing. And so I was talking to him. I was like, hey, can I do a watch of your movie? Because it's not, people try to watch stuff and it's not. Look, if people are watching a movie and commenting on it, that's not fair use. That is a breaking of copyright. It just is. No matter what anybody tells you, I promise you, I have been through quite a few classes when it comes to law. I'm pretty good on the law. That is not fair use at all. So, I was talking to him because I wanted to make sure. I didn't want to do anything because, again, I want to make sure. And I'll be darned if he doesn't come on as soon as we start talking about the sexual assault to check out my channel. Oh, man. That's just fantastic. All right. I just got very confused by the Tyler story arc. It wasn't that great and it didn't add up to the story. I agree. It didn't add a lot. The adult themes in Star Trek Discovery, again, I think are somewhat do move away from what we were trying to talk about from the storyline of Trek. There's a video that I think we are going to fair use isn't hold on. There's a video done by Jessie Gender that we may actually watch today. That's why she's in the thumbnail. That we may break down. I don't think, and in that video, she says that the darker themes of Discovery make it more enjoyable as a utopia in the original series in TNG. And so I just completely disagree with that. I think that the dystopian feel goes against Trek and breaks continuity. You know, I think that the problem is that adult themes can be in Trek, but they can't be so blatant. They really just cannot be so in your face like they do in Star Trek Discovery, because if they are, you lose the spirit of Trek. That's just my opinion, and you may disagree. But just to go back to what we were just talking about, In the Pale Moonlight is a very... When you break it down, and I'm going to be, and a lot of people are going to... When I do these videos, everyone always asks me, why do you hate DS9? I don't. I actually, it's my favorite series. It's just the implications of what they do really are horrifying. To your point, tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands to possibly millions of Romulans are going to die for a lie. For a lie that basically Starfleet officer and Starfleet command were okay with someone being killed to win a war with a race that didn't have anything to do with it. Don't forget, it wasn't just Cisco. Starfleet Command signed off on this. Starfleet admirals at the top and Cisco, the hero of the Dominion War, decided to pull a race that had nothing to do with it, that at least claimed they didn't want to do anything. He's going to get men killed, he's going to get women killed, and possibly children killed. People are going to suffer who had nothing to do with it just because he was losing a war he started. And that's an adult theme, but I think they still kept it with the spirit. Star Trek Discovery, it's like, and I don't know a good example, but here's a good example. The best way when you're doing story writing to create tension is to do it subtly and not in your face. If someone walks into a room and they look somebody in the eyes and they say, you know, I have a bomb and this entire building's going to blow up in 3 minutes. That creates tension. That creates a story. But instead of that, let's say you have two different people walk in and they begin discussing the weather or business reports or something like that. The camera pans down, you see a bomb that they don't, and there's a 3-minute timer on it, and it starts ticking down. And they're just continuing talking like nothing's going on. One of those is a better story writing tool than the other. The first one is Star Trek Discovery. The second one is Deep Space Nine. But that's just my opinion, but I think that's exactly how it is. Martin Pelt helping out the channel. Again, guys, I want to do live streams like on Tuesdays and Thursdays where all I'm doing is live streaming, but to do it, I have to be able to justify it financially to feed two small human beings, so I appreciate you guys helping out. I could see an R-rated Trek movie that's something like Hacksaw Ridge during the Dominion War, just to show how dark the world really was in some places. I don't know that I've seen Hacksaw Ridge. It sounds vaguely familiar. I don't think I've seen it, though. Let me see. I have not. I'd have to keep an open mind to it, and thanks for the support. Depending on how they went about it, but I'm not, again, I'm okay with more death, and maybe in order to do R, and maybe in order to do that and do it well, you'd have to have some form of R rating. So I'm not against more death and more suffering, let's say, but it's just how you go about it, right? Because I do think that Deep Space Nine can be very, very milquetoast in this in some ways. I'll give you that. But I don't know. By the way, No Budget Productions just commented, no, you're awesome, buddy. You're awesome. There's his channel, guys. He is drastically under subscribed. You guys should check him out. He does fan film. I haven't seen all his videos, so I don't know. Hopefully he doesn't have anything in there that's praising Mein Kampf. But from what I can see, his fan films are just excellent. You guys should check those out. Especially one that we may be doing today, which was where is it? It is right here. Or was right here. Here it is. The 11th Hour, a Star Trek fan production. We're not doing it right now, but that's the one that I actually liked and reached out to him about. We need Rick Berman. You never thought you'd say that, did you? We need Rick Berman back for Star Trek to save it. In Star Trek TNG Reunification, the Romulans destroy their own transports, killing their own people. Yeah, and again, it's you can have those themes. It's just how you go about doing it. To be fair, they only had like 1,000 troops, which made no sense. But yeah, they killed their own people just so that they wouldn't be taken. Also, I actually did a breakdown of that. I think the Romulan officer really did that inaccurately. He should have demanded to take his people home. I don't think Riker had the gumption. We need more Stargate. Yes. Disco made the Klingons tactically stupid, and the Federation a collection of a-holes that want to absorb everything in their path, thus making the Klingons the heroes of peace. There is an argument. There is an argument. What's going on, Lee Banning? Hope you're doing well. There's an argument to be made that the Federation was as anti as you can get. As that the Federation, while they claimed that they just wanted to get to know people, were trying to absorb, trying to turn you into something other, and that the Klingons said no, and they weren't listening to that, and so the Klingons reacted. There's an argument there. I don't think it's that strong, but I do think there is an argument. If two or more parties are legally watching a film and are commenting on it and are broadcasting their commenter only and are not broadcasting the film, is that legal? I'm not a lawyer, so let me point that out. But yeah, if the voice tracks that they do over the movies, those are fine. You just can't have the movie or the film there itself. You literally can't be watching it and commenting as it goes, but you could make a track where everybody's watching at the same time and you're just commenting. You just don't show it on yours because, again, it has to fundamentally change the work. And there has been, I believe there's been precedent on that, where just watching it and commenting doesn't fundamentally change it. But as someone else said, it's when it comes to fair use, it's based on how the judge feels, what the judge opinion of fair use is, and it's vague, so very vague. Seems people love The Expanse, that's R-rated, which isn't just indiscriminate violence. So I'm sure if the right people are involved, R-rated Star Trek would be great. Could even tone down the violence. Ilya, where we disagree is I think that The Expanse and Star Trek are two fundamentally different things with fundamentally different goals. They're two different stories. A World War II story and a World War II story and a Little Red Riding Hood have two different what's going on, Bruno? Have two different points to make, two different goals. And so I don't know that they can be intermixed. No, it cannot copy the work. That's what copyright is all about. Yes, if you do something that, if you don't fundamentally change the work, then it can come there. So watching it and commenting on it. You know what, Corey? I'm not going to argue with you. I promise you I'm right on that. But I tell you what, if you don't believe me, then go ahead and stream Marvel's movies and bulk at them and tell them to saw it off, and we'll see what happens. I promise you I'm not wrong, but if you disagree with me, we'll just agree to disagree. One of us will be sued into the nines. If they push it, one of us won't. And again, whether you agree with that doesn't matter. It is what it is. I don't have to like it for it to be true, right? Though I don't think you should watch something I don't think you should watch something all the way through without the rights holder being okay with it, because that's just a jerk move anyway. People who do it aren't trying to be jerks. I'm not calling them jerks. It's just a jerk move. It really is. Actually, I was shocked and surprised with the swearing in Discovery. Does it bother me? No. If nobody likes swearing in Discovery, then don't watch. If you don't like it, just don't watch it, y'all. How come you have issues? Just don't watch it, y'all. Just don't do it. It's not made for you. It's made for kids, y'all. Sorry, Lee. That may have came off. That wasn't necessarily against you. It's just a lot of people say that on my things. I think you can talk about something and talk about how it doesn't reach the spirit and have issues with it. and still watch it. If you stream, okay, Corey, then we may be on the right side. If you stream Marvel's movies, then you are copying. Yes, I'd agree with that. I think you and me are on the same side. Maybe I misunderstood, so I apologize. I thought you were saying it's okay just to stream and talk on it. So it's not. Again, whether it is or not is whether it's okay or not. Well, yeah. I mean, Dave, why are we getting into copyright? I agree, Dave. I've actually studied this specific piece of law as well. Copyright is anything that you don't own. When I actually, all of my videos, when I put images up of any of the Star Trek series or I play a thing, technically I've broken copyright. However, thanks to the fair use provision, it's not a law, it's a provision, within copyright, I can do that and not lose my livelihood. But I agree. You break copyright anytime you show something that's not yours. Star Trek just comes to, do you fundamentally change it? You guys, why do you get me off of topic? We're talking about Star Trek Discovery adult themes, horrific, not my knowledge when it comes to copyright. Okay. Red Riding Hood. Do you know the original tells? They would be R-rated without discussion. Sure. So the current understanding of Red Riding Hood is what I was talking about, obviously. But thank you. I appreciate the... And maybe when I'm talking about Red Riding Hood, maybe I'm talking about... Hold on. Maybe I'm talking about the fall of Little Red Riding Hood. Don't Google that. Whatever you do, don't Google that. How did the Federation stabilize the atmosphere of Kronos after Praxis blew up? I don't think they did. I don't think they ever... How did they stabilize... Oh, no. I think they moved. I think they evacuated all of Kronos. I think it technically is Kronos 2 and I'm not joking with you there. I'd have to relook it back up, but I think the original Kronos was actually evacuated. I think. I could be wrong on that, but I'm almost 100% sure. Hey, here's a good question. Yes, there should be breasts in Star Trek Discovery. Why shouldn't there? Should be breasts everywhere. My God. Ask Cindercat. That's one of my favorite topics. Star Trek Discovery bomb in... Did they throw the bomb in Kronos or Kronos's... spoilers for Discovery. Did they throw the bomb in Kronos or was it in the moon? Because that might be a good tie-in where they try to do. So for those who have watched Star Trek Discovery, where they put the bomb and they basically use the bomb in order to... cause the Klingons to blackmail the Klingons and to stop attacking, because that's really honorful that someone who becomes Chancellor would have the nuke codes to destroy the entire planet. That makes a ton of sense on all accounts. Did they do that to the planet or was it to Praxis? Because if it was done to Praxis, that'd be a clever tie-in. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but it would be a clever tie-in. There's a question for the ages. If conservatives are so bad, why is it called copyright? Wouldn't it be called copy left? I hate myself. You make me hate me, Lee Banning. Yeah, I forget if it was... Oh, Tyler suggests that a drone enters Kronos underground, so it was Kronos. Can't even do that right. Come on, get in the game, Discovery. They should have done it. They should have done it to Praxis, and that's why Praxis went boom. Tiki, that's getting hidden. But the answer is no. No. You'll make me tired. It's on Kronos, not on the moon. It would have made sense on the moon. That would be how Praxis blew up. Yeah, exactly. I mean, Discovery, you had one job, which is to make continuity work. How did you not? How could you not do this? Disappoint. How Klingons learn to love the bomb. Trexit. Nothing about Discovery makes sense, especially the magic mushroom. You know, the problem is there are continuity issues. There are a ton of continuity issues. I would completely agree with that. But because of those continuity issues, it makes everything else look so much more worse. The mycelial network technically could work. There are all kinds of different ways to travel. We have warp, we have subspace drives, we have tunnels. There are so many different ways. I mean, we don't even know how the Borg shouldn't be able to move at all. We have no idea how they work. There are all kinds of ways to travel. So the mycelial network is interesting. There was even just excellent. What is her name? Star Trek engineer Discovery. Okay, Tig Notaro. Who did she play? Who did Tig Notaro play? This is about to lose interest for me. Do you have the name of the character? Of course we don't have the name of the character. This is only TrekMovie.com. Why would TrekMovie.com have the name of Star Trek characters in them, right? That wouldn't make any fucking sense. All right, so Tig Notaro, her engineer character got into a fight with Stamets about warp versus the mycelial network. And it was one of the funnest arguments that was basically an argument between using fossil fuels and green technology. You could do that, I think. You could actually create something like the mycelial network and then have this conversation around you know, should we use something cleaner than not? And that could even then again tie into how the mycelial network, spoilers again for anyone who cares, how the mycelial network is hurting another civilization but is cleaner for yours. So when people talk about the mycelial network or they talk about mushrooms or whatever, that's not actually world breaking for me. I don't think that's necessarily something that was bad. It's just everything else is so poorly done that is not given the benefit of the doubt. And that's one of the reasons why you really got to nail stuff. You just really do. The whole of Discovery was good ideas and concepts, but very bad execution. I would agree with that, Norman. I do. I think that is accurate. Star Trek Picard is just the Iridonic syndrome taking hold of the old man. Discovery and the short treks are his justification. Pike is conscience still limited. I want to do a lore theory on that now. You see, so Lee Banning, let's talk about that for a second. Writers have never really cared about continuity. They put the con in continuity. I actually had Lisa Klink on. A wonderful human being. I like Lisa Klink. I think she's fun. I really do. I like her to death. She said something that was really prolific, and it's consistent with other people that I've talked to behind the scenes that actually have worked with Star Trek. She said that continuity mattered, but telling a good story was more important. And so I think that's more the way they go with it, that they want to tell a good story. I think that I do think that Discovery was highly agenda-based, more biased than it had to be, more in your face than it had to be. And I think those were the things. They want to tell a good story and they want to get their agenda out. And if you think that is on par with what's happened in the past, then you really either didn't understand what you were watching or never seen Star Trek originally. That's just... Anyone else find it funny that penicillin... Wow. Almost got me to say it, buddy. Almost. That is why I call Disco a comic book version, because on how it blurs the lines of what Star Trek is, to me it feels like a comic book. It feels like another universe, and that's what they should have done. They should have just said, hey, this is another universe. Well, and you said, going back to T. Gilly, they both should matter. I think they both do. I think that a good story comes over. I think a good story is more important than continuity. And I think, well, that's what they said. Let me rephrase. That a good story is more important than continuity. And if they had to sacrifice one, they're going to do that. Not that it's not important, just that it's down the list. The caretaker was said to be a spore-type life form from some layer of subspace. His mate, Suspiria, even gave Kess's people the power. Kess later sent Voyager 10,000 light years. Yeah, I know a lot of people have talked about that. That's interesting. I haven't really looked into it, to be honest. If they use the mycelial network or were from it. I think that's interesting. I guess if you tell a good story, people will ignore bad continuity. Good continuity can help elevate a bad story if it helps build the world. I would agree with that. I think a good story where someone's invested they'll let go of continuity to some degree. A bad story that has continuity, is it redeemable or passable? I think a good story that uses continuity takes it to the next level, just makes it wonderful. But that goes with storytelling anyway. That when it comes to looking at Star Trek, just looking at one episode, basically you have a bunch of humans and aliens in what is effectively a metal ball that has oxygen inside of it that can travel faster than light. A lot of those are breaking the fourth wall to the degrees that they do. But if they're good stories or there's something we're into, we let it go, right? Obviously, we don't have faster than light technology right now. Obviously, well, I mean, not to any large degree. We don't have it where they do. And so we can let that go and be okay with that. Aliens, to our knowledge, don't exist. We can let that go and be okay with that if the story is intriguing. It doesn't take a lot of effort to see if your story fits in continuity, especially when it's something as big as Trek. It should matter. It doesn't take a lot of effort. Now that, good sir, is beyond, in my opinion, inaccurate. There is so much continuity that I have done this for years. I would say that when it comes to Trek, I would consider myself very close to expert level. Not that I know everything, because we're going to get into that, but I would say that I know quite a bit. I don't think I could write a series that didn't have errors just because of how expansive Trek is. I think that's just impossible. Lee Banning, most people don't care about continuity. That's a dead zombie conservative horde. What the hell is it with, first off, what the hell is it with you and conservatives? But beyond that, I don't even know why that would be in it. A lot of people actually do care about continuity. It's just to the degrees that they do. A lot of people care about things being cohesive. If they decided in season 3 that Starfleet never existed, that there were no Vulcans or anything, you would see the majority of Trekkies actually getting upset. Beyond that, I think that Trekkies, those who like Star Trek, it doesn't have to be Trekkies. I don't like to subgroup like that. Those who like Star Trek are actually far more concerned about continuity than most fandoms. I would say even versus Star Wars fandoms. I think people do care about continuity. It's just to the degree. Nitpicking Nerd says Cisco managed to travel faster than light just using some solar cells and some tachyon winds. Yeah, he got himself almost killed for that too. Wow, that was attractive. The TV show Friends is one of the worst for community errors, for continuity errors, I guess. Okay. Okay, folks, I've got to go to work. Have a good insert relevant time period. Well, you have a good insert relevant time period too, Vile. B5 limited itself with strict canon rules. It is possible to write a bad story staying in continuity. I think there is a mix. But that said, if you create rules in a world, stick to those rules. And if you have exceptions, have them very, very light exceptions. By the way, 100 people watching, only 65 likes. What is going on with that? We have got to do better. As long as it's not egregious, I don't mind bending continuity. TOS, TNG, and DS9 did it, but when it contradicts over 50% of the canon, it's better to set it in a different continuity. I'd agree with that. I think that's pretty. There's no continuity in Star Trek. Look at the TNG episode Relics. Riker, where from the Starship Enterprise? Scotty, did Jim Kirk get the old girl out of mothballs? There is a ton of continuity in Star Trek. I don't know what you're talking about. First off, both Riker and Scotty were in Starfleet. Both of them knew what Starfleet was. Both of them were speaking to each other through the common language that is always used. They were both on starships. They were both in space. They were both in the Alpha Quadrant. All of these things are continuity. So to say it never had continuity was not accurate. Beyond that, there are continuity breaks, things that don't make sense. And I mean, even if you're going to that, not nitpicking nerd came up. That's not even a good point to make. You want to start talking continuity. Again, come to the experts, son. Sit down. Class is in session. Tell me, is the Klingon Empire a part of Starfleet? If you look at season 1, early season 1 of TNG, it actually is. They're now a part of the Federation. It's why you see Klingon ships cloaked going through Federation space like they own the place. In fact, you even see both the Federation symbol and the Klingon symbol on either side, showing that they're together on Klingon ships. At the end of TNG, they decided, hey, Worf's his character progression is more important than what we said beforehand, so it's not. So, and Picard directly says the Klingons joined Starfleet as well. So, that's a continuity issue from absolute hell. There are many like that, but they do try to limit them. Here's another one. Here's another one for you. Let me ask you this: can you fire phasers through your shields? Because the first time shielding is brought up, you can't fire phasers out of or into the bubble that is created. You also can't beam through the shields. And in the exact same episode, they say that in the original series, when they first bring up, this is the first time the shield technology is ever brought up, the beginning of the episode, can't beam through the shields. At the end of the episode, magically it happens like that was never said. So if you want to talk about continuity issues, we can do that. But again, these continuity issues are not the goal, and there's something far and in between, and generally can be talked away. Oh, Therios pondering the decommission of the Enterprise A and presumably the other connies was due to fleet size reduction treaty from Kittimore. You know, there's two ways to look at that. There's two ways to look at not seeing Constitution classes. The first one is, well, there's three ways actually. First one is the Constitution class was decommissioned after the Enterprise, kind of like decommissioning your favorite jersey. I could actually see Starfleet doing that, whether they could afford to or not. So in honor of the Enterprise, you never see another Constitution class. The second one is Constitution classes are actually still a part of the fleet. You just never see them. Third option is they were decommissioned because they didn't work out great. They sent out, how many did they send out? Anti-Trekker is better at the original series than me, but they sent out like, what, eight Constitution class ships, and only the Enterprise came back, which is why it was honored so much. All three of those can make sense. Personally, for me, I just think they decommissioned it. I want to see a Trek 40K crossover short film. That's a good way just to have everyone Starfleet killed. Max, I'll be anything you want me to be, baby. I'll do anything for you. The Klingons were provisionally accepted in the Federation. Yeah, that's it. So, to that point, people have tried to make it make sense. I'm not convinced you can make the fact that the Klingons were clearly a part of the Federation make sense, but the way the writers justified it was that, oh, they have some say in it. They're a part of the council to some degree, and they moved further apart because of tensions or whatever. There's no justification for that. There's nothing in canon that supports that, but that's the best. O'Brien said he could beam through the shields because shields are not steady state. They have a frequency, and if you match it, then it's like they don't exist. He was saying that specifically for the Nebula class. By the way, that was an interesting one. So this is a massive flaw in the Nebula class shielding. And he says it right in front of a Cardassian captain. He's just like, oh, this is a way to destroy our ships. Not that the Cardassians could do anything at that point, but... The Constitution class was decommissioned because of structural weaknesses in the neck, and only 1 out of 12 made it home again, so they were pulled from the front line duty. Yeah, they would hate to have structural issues in the neck that every time it got hit, an issue would occur where you had a warp core breach. So I'm so glad that they pulled the Constitution class, and definitely also pulled a ship that we know has that same issue, like the Galaxy class, from it. Q is Slanesh. Oh, man. That'd be funny. He's not Slanesh, though. Slanesh is far too promiscuous. Q would have to be, all over everybody. I forget the channel. Oh, man, there's a channel that, uses them as puppets and stuff. It's hilarious. They aren't puppets. They're, characters, avatars that talk, and I forget the name of it. But the way he describes Slanesh is that Slanesh is hate effed into existence. It's hilarious. Oh, my God. I love that channel. I want to have that. The guy who makes that channel, I'll have his babies if he wants me to. What are your thoughts on the Atlas military? Airships and carrier cruisers, mechs for tanks, androids for private defense and ground forces, and living people for centuries. And the Atlas military... What genre are you talking about? I've heard the Atlas military in multiple... Are you talking about RWBY? Rebi? Or however? I've never seen that if you are. Atlas is actually commonly used in quite a few different science fiction. You're not instant. It doesn't instantly ring a bell for me, though, so it may be one that I haven't seen. Yeah, if the Emperor had a text-to-speech device. It's that guy. What is it? Brava Alpha, whatever. He is... Oh, man. Oh, he just makes wonderful stuff. He's so good. He's such... I don't understand how I can do this for a living when you have channels like that, because he is so good at this. The TOS episode returns tomorrow where Kirk said there's 14 like it. Yeah. I don't know that's a continuity issue. That's an interesting discussion point, though. Khan almost cut the saucer section off the drive section by decapitating the neck. This also knocked out main power and damaged the warp core. Sure. They also it was a Klingon bird of prey that came from the 23rd century that almost destroyed a souped up Galaxy class, though. So I mean, all right, guys. So I'm on the fence. Should we keep going or should we take a break? I'm on the fence where I want to go with that. Star Trek the original told us when the eugenics war was, and then in DS9 we get a different year. Yeah, again, there are continuity issues. I think Voyager is worse about that. Voyager, their time travel ones, oh man. The eugenics war and the World War III are not the same. I agree. Nobody likes Rowboat. Nobody. Insurrection was during the truce in Dominion War when the Dominion pretended to negotiate. No, I thought Insurrection was after the war. I'm pretty sure it was. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure Insurrection was after the war. How many warp core breaches have been in canon? How many have been in canon? And y'all need just keep going. Dance for us, monkey. Doesn't matter if you're getting tired. We're fine. I'm joking with you guys. If you mean in canon actually happening, seeing on screen, or doing it without a reset, those are two different. How many actually occur is that don't get a reset, so it never happened, is a drastically different number, I think. Looks like you need a break. Take a break, or I'll tell. Take a. It looks like I need a break. I love you too, Trek 95. You're awesome, buddy. You'd think the first warp core would go boom. Yes. Why did the temporal time agents only give an S about the time stuff in Enterprise and not Star Trek Discovery and the rest of the series? So I've talked about this before. I don't think we. So there's a lot of times in the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Star Trek Discovery, where the time travel and the agents could have stepped in because it was things that would go against or be harmful. I really believe that the time agents are some form of either Section 31 or pro-Starfleet group. They generally only step in when it's a net negative for the when it's a net negative for the Federation or for Starfleet. I look a bit tired. I'm fine, people. You know what? We're going to go 6 hours. I don't even need you. I'm as good as ever. I can beat any 20-year-old. I'm fine. But yeah, so Section 31 or Pro Starfleet, because again, the time agents never come in unless it is something positive for Starfleet. Even when they come in and bring Voyager back, they keep Voyager in the Delta Quadrant because Voyager in and of itself basically defeats the Borg. They don't do anything with the time ship because it makes the ship, it makes them stronger in different ways. So yeah. A French dip is skinny dipping. What the hell is what is wrong with you? Arby's new filet is very good. I haven't had that. Did this turn into a Doctor Who discussion? Don't you think she looks tired? Did you just assume my gender, good sir? Sounded like you assumed my gender. Temporal agents dress a lot like Section 31. They even have black badges in Voyager and a full black uniform in the 31st century. That's one of my concerns about Discovery. People are, when they talk about Star Trek Discovery, they're like, oh, thank God, man. Oh, man. They're not going to be able to mess anything up here. That we actually have canon for the 31st century. We actually have people and know what of things that are going on in the 31st century. So there are still things they can mess up. Yeah. Riker should have had a court-martial for that. Maybe you should live stream one with the other channels. Make an event for it with Bird of Prey and the rest. I don't know what you're talking about, Nathan. Oh, you mean a trial for... I already put him on trial. I do think what a lot of people say, and it's true, is that the crew of the Enterprise had to hold the dumb stick during Generations because the Enterprise D had to be destroyed. I think there was ways you could have done it, and it makes sense, but they didn't decide to do that, and they gave everyone a dumb stick. There's no way it should have. Take a break and watch Rugby. I've never seen that. RWBY. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily interest me either, honestly. Maybe they will finally reveal who Future Guy was. Maybe it was someone from Discovery. I think it should have been Archer. I think it'd be interesting for it to be Archer. I don't know that they could do that, but they should make it Archer, in my opinion. I really wish the Daniel story arc was better done with the 31st century. What did you like about it? I don't hate the no budget. What about it did you not like? I guess here's the problem is the Daniel story arc, and this is going to come off poorly, but it was in the Enterprise show, and it was something forced upon them, so they're not the best on it. So I don't hate it, but I'd be curious why you didn't like it. Macross, our ship lost both the FTL systems and FTL comms due to an accident and had to go back in sublight only. Yes. What's going on, Mr. Miles, Chief Engineer? Hope you're well. Future Guy is Michael Burnham. Dude, I would not be surprised. Would not at any point be surprised. Scott Bakula could return as Future Guy. That'd be kind of neat. Yeah, but I don't know they'd do that. I wish they would. It's really not fleshed out and felt really rushed. Yeah, well, and I mean, that's kind of what I was getting to. I don't know how much you know on the back end of that, but in the real life, not in canon, it was the executives added it, and it was forced upon them. as something they had to do to kind of make it more interesting. It was never originally a part of the video or the series, and so they had to do with it what they could. And I think because of that, it did hamstring them because they were required to include something that you know they didn't have a inspiration for. But that said, I don't think they did a horrific job with it, and it would have been interesting to see it expanded. I agree. I think Enterprise needed more seasons to fully flesh out storylines. Yeah, the interesting thing is, the first couple of seasons were so horrible that they changed things up and they made it better, and it did. Numbers started going up for Enterprise, but it was too late. The damage had been done. How to defeat an old, outdated Klingon bird of prey, warp away from planet, then open fire for 3 to 4 salvos. There is no reason. The Galaxy class should never have lost that battle. Even without shields, they could take it on 1-to-1. They didn't need it. You're telling me a bird of prey of the 23rd century is more powerful than 24th century Cardassian ships? Really? Are you really telling me that? Mr. Miles, chief engineer, loves Enterprise. Well, there are things we like that aren't good for us. You like Enterprise. Some other people do drugs. Who's the better person in that? I really couldn't tell you, but it's Star Trek Insurrection. This movie takes place shortly after the Star Trek Deep Space Nine season 6 finale. Is that from Netflix? Because I'm not going to listen to that if that's from Netflix. Where did you get that? Enterprise also has an odd trait wow. Let me try that again without a brain aneurysm. Enterprise also has an odd trait okay, it's just not written well either. The older I get, the more I seem to like it, is what you're trying to say, Chief Miles. That's with any series, though. TNG, when it came up, was the one really only universally loved. DS9 has only recently come into enjoyment of fandom. Honestly, people say, this is what was happening with all the other series. In about 10 years, people will love Discovery. There is some historical evidence that's the way things work. And so I wouldn't be surprised if it was more enjoyed in 5-10 years, Hail or Reloaded. In Star Trek Nemesis, Picard is 100% on board with invading Romulus when Janeway suggests it. Prove me wrong. I don't think Janeway ever suggested invading Romulus, but honestly, the interesting thing is with Janeway, and you guys didn't see it, but here, and a lot of people actually don't know this, so give me a second. There was, talking about that, there was a cut scene from the interaction with Janeway and Picard, where you actually see there was a plan by Starfleet to take over Romulus. And this is no joke. This is actually a deleted scene because they thought it was too against what Starfleet would do. So let's do this. Hold on. Wait for it. Let's watch it real quick because this is kind of a really interesting one. I think you guys will enjoy. So let's. There it is. All right. So you guys should be able to hear it. Let's watch it for a second. This is an actual deleted scene. It's kind of interesting. And again, just to set it, Janeway is contacting Picard, and is going to discuss plans to actually overthrow the Romulan government. And again, it was removed because they didn't like what it did to the Janeway character, even though it was really in character for her, I think. And they didn't like the Starfleet, what it made it look like when it came to Starfleet. So hold up for a second. Well, actually, let's do this real quick. Hold on, you lovely people. Let me know about the sound on it too. Hold on. Do 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 do.
Just erase some of these censor logs and no one will ever know. I'll still be able to give long speeches about the sanctity of the Prime Directive, as soon as Worf finishes picking all those bits of alien out of the grill. A little tea Earl Grey hot to show that he's not possessed by anything other than excess testosterone. And it's time for the crossover that exists solely to make my job of making fun of this movie even easier, if that were somehow possible.
Here we go. Here it is.
Son Luke, how'd you like a trip to Romulus?
In a torpedo. A bad Star Trek movie with Janeway guest starring. Oh, Rick Berman, you didn't have to get me anything for Christmas. Yes, Janeway's been kicked upstairs to Starfleet Command and is, in fact, not just an admiral, but one of the highest-ranking ones in the show. According to Memory Alpha, and sure, they might not know much about boobs, but they do know trivia, there's only 3 admirals in this era once you eliminate all.
Hold on. This is by a reviewer, SF Debris, who's excellent, but we need to get to it.
Rank her.
Hold on.
Yes. Galaxy, I managed to wander back.
All right, here it is.
For almost how you could possibly become an admiral before. Once again, if you subscribe to the Psycho Janeway theory, most of the plot holes disappear. I don't understand how you could possibly become an admiral before me. I've been a captain for almost 40 years, invented new tactics, saved the human race. All you ever did was get pulled across the galaxy and managed to wander back home again. You have any idea how many times I've been thrown all over the universe by weird experiments and all-powerful beings and come back? Oh, you've been put up for promotion, Picard, but when I was picking up Tom Paris, I used my father's old access codes to introduce a program that said every time you were supposed to get promoted, it'd be rerouted to my file. That's why I got promoted over Commodore, over Rear Admiral, directly to Vice Admiral on coming back. What? Oh, yes, it's all part of my plan. Actually, everything that's happened with your mission is my plan. Shinzon's got an advanced warship that can fire while cloaked, armed with a weapon that can exterminate a whole planet. It's made using technology I got from my future self and traded to him for valuable information. Or did you actually think a bunch of backward-ass morons like the Remans could have pulled this thing out of their ass?
Who's speaking? Just so you know, this is actually Patrick Stewart, who's playing Jean-Luc Picard, and Catherine Mulgrew, who's playing Janeway. This is a deleted scene that literally did happen. So.
You mean you traded technology to the enemy? Wasn't the first time. That B4 droid? That's just lore. I used my high-level access to take his remains. Then I dumbed him down so Shinzon couldn't get much use out of him. My God, what have you done? Handed him the means to sneak up on Earth and annihilate the heart of the Federation? And blow up his own ship, too. He won't see that coming. Luckily, I'll be conveniently off-world, and thus the highest-ranking leader left in the Federation, ready to lead the remnants in a just war against the Romulans, which will be short thanks to Shinzon killing their leadership, leaving me in control of both nations from which I can launch my total conquest of the galaxy. You're mad. Why are you even telling me all this? Oh, I reprogrammed your replicator while I was picking up Tom Paris. Your Earl Grey's drugged. You won't even remember any of this conversation. Rubbish. That's never happened before. It's happened ever since they installed my Doctor replicators on the Enterprise E. Unfortunately, the drug's side effect substantially increases testosterone. That's why you're so aggressive and you lost the rest of your hair. Sorry. Look on the bright side. Once you go on this mission, it won't matter because there's no way anyone will be coming back from Romulus alive. But you... What was I saying? You were insisting that I send you on this mission, and damn it, Picard, you've convinced me. Whether you make it back alive or not, I'm putting you up for a promotion. You've earned it.
True story. That scene was cut. Now I kind of agree. If cartoons can be included, why not that? Also, fun fact: YouTube just told me they may block this stream because of that brief play of a legitimate video. And I'm not even joking about that. YouTube did just send me an alert. So yeah, that actually happened. How did 4 people dislike this stream? Oh man, always. This is silly. Y'all are crazy. What's up, SC? My favorite troll into his house. Q wanted to make with Janeway. Strange that he didn't appear as a woman to mate with Picard. Y'all say some weird stuff. I'm gonna be honest with you. Y'all say some insane stuff. That was actually done by SF Debris. If you guys haven't seen it, you guys should go watch SF Debris. It's just excellent, in my opinion. One of the best. Anyway, yeah. So, I do think there is some. I do look at Janeway, a lot of the way she's written, as an anti-villain or an anti-hero. Possibly a villain. I really she's intriguing to look into. I'll be honest with you guys. The truth hurts where a cup. Yeah. Y2 did go full. Literally while I was playing that. I think a part of it was because it was actual Janeway's voice. This huge alert pops up, and it's like it went away. So I guess maybe it came out fine. It figured there wasn't anything wrong with it, but it was like, warning, you may be using copyrighted material. Parts of your live stream will be blocked. Did you do anything? No. Blocked? Did you? Wait, yes, I did. Demonetized. That is how they do. Welcome to the FBI's playlist, my friend. Dude, I mean, when it comes to writers or critics or whatever, anybody who's writing a script, who's doing research, or a critic is on somebody's, is on some FBI or an SA list. I mean, I have done research on how long it takes before someone dies due to being held upside down. As well as all kinds of things. How long does it take for a nuclear blast to kill a person? At what range will someone survive a nuclear blast? There's all kinds of things that I've done research on for this channel. I promise you the NSA is probably watching me with great interest. When they uploaded Janeway into the VR sim, she did say that a Starfleet captain would be enough fear for him to feed on. That is true. That is absolutely how these things do work. Play the USSR theme. That's all I have to do. All right, guys, we are going to be probably wrapping it up pretty shortly, though I'll come back on in short order. Is there anything else that we wanted to end on, or we want to have a discussion on before we ended it? I could play. So there is this one video that I think is interesting that's done by Jesse Gender. It says, how polarized fandoms radicalize discourse. It's actually very well put together. I hate the fact that it hasn't gotten a lot of views because of the amount of effort it took to actually do it. She brings up some interesting questions. The one thing I don't like about it, I'm going to have her on for us to have some discussions over this at some point. The one thing I don't necessarily like about it is she tries to be fair, but it is quite obvious that she is coming from a specific point of view. And so you can tell where she is having trouble parsing the differences when it comes to that. And so I don't know. Well, since I'm from Belarus, you got KGB watching you too. Well, that's cool. Did you know Ernest Hemingway worked for the KGB? I had no idea. For Whom the Bell Tolls, that the writer of that book actually was a part of the KGB. It's crap you never even find out. They don't tell you that when you're a kid, you know? There's a perfect spot in the nuclear explosion that would cook perfectly all the frozen pizzas in a supermarket at the same time. That's true. Did you know when it comes to nukes, we'll end this soon, when it comes to a nuke going off, there is a range where all of your skin is burnt off, but you don't feel it because it happens so quick and it's so hot. So all of your skin just wipes away, but you'd never know it. You wouldn't feel it because it burns away all of the ability to do that. I don't like that. I don't like knowing that. I wish I didn't know that. Subversive track is the best track. I'm the FBI playlist because I looked up if you can still work for the KGB. How to contact the KGB. All right, guys. I think we'll probably end it here. Let me ask you this. Would you prefer me to start back in, say, an hour, so 12:30? Or would you like me to wait until like 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, which is 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, about 4 or 5 hours from now, so we can do it later in the day? I'd really be interested in what you want to know, and then we will end it for today. And if, well, not for today, but for right now. And with that note, I want you to go here and tell them I said hello. Wouldn't you be dead due to thermal shock if it hit that much heat anyway? No, apparently it's interesting. Apparently, Vorlon, there is a range where it doesn't kill you. It just hits you, burns your skin, but burns off all of the receptors that feel pain so that it's like it never happened. Take a break for however long you want. Eric, camera, that doesn't help me out. All right, so we'll do something like that. Definitely go check out the Anti-Trekker. You can look at him. He's live right there. And we can get back to it. So I'll be back either in anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. I don't care who you're watching at that time. You got to come back here. That's just the rule. And I guess I'm going to go start working for the KGB in Belarus. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. We will be doing more videos. We'll probably be doing the fan film that I was talking about, as well as Jesse Genders, just to talk about discourse and stuff. But I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded.